Moving iron.
Hello and welcome to Moving Iron Podcast number 307. This edition of Moving Iron Podcast is brought to you by Axon Tire, helping dealers move more iron for the past 100 years. For more information, call axontire.com. I have the great and powerful Paige Seach here with me, covering the all the things that there is to cover in the world of tires. So how you doing, Paige?
I'm doing good, Casey. How are you?
I'm doing all right. Got your hunting hat on, hunting season. Been out deer hunting?
I do.
Yeah.
This is a little preview of what the giveaway may or may not be today. I'm advertising.
You're a fashion model this time around. That's
I'm
nice.
sure trying.
Right on. Paige, who we got with us this week?
So we have Mr. Kenny Seed and Clint Berardi, and they're both repeat customers on the podcast, so that's exciting. Kenny is the inside client advisor for the North Territories and the Northeast Territory, and then Clint is the outside client advisor for our Axon territory. So
absolutely awesome. Well, it's good to have you guys back on, man.
Thank you, Casey.
All right, we have got a lot of things going on. Harvest is wrapping up, moving into some fall tillage practices are getting rolled in to get ready for the winter time as things get ready to kind of shut down here for this year, I guess. So, guys, when you're looking at what's going on, how's harvest been in your areas, and how things been going from that perspective?
Well, it's a wide variety in Iowa. I can say that for sure. Everything from southern Iowa, 100 to 150 bushel corn and 30 to 50 to 80 bushel beans, and then a lot of good yields north central Iowa. Heard of high 200s corn in a lot of places, and so very, very widespread. A lot of drought areas, but also areas that did really well. So I think overall, guys are pretty happy with what they did get from what I've seen so far. So
yeah, it's been a very mixed bag across the entire Corn Belt this year as far as what fall harvest looks like. You know, in my neck of the woods out here, we're looking at some guys that had some decent yields because it was way better than what they thought. So that decent's relative. You know, I'll leave it at that.
Right.
But if you're looking across the spectrum, you know, like there's guys in Iowa and Illinois that I've talked to that had 280, 300 bushel corn, and then you go 30 miles to the south or watch some other direction, and you know they might have 250 bushel corn or 225 bushel corn, just depending on what the weather looked like and what kind of rains they got, because there were some pretty spotty areas that got some stuff there. So there's a fair amount of I guess diversity when you start looking at that. And this, you know, in January when they get the final reports of what bushels looked like and what harvest overall looked like, it was going to be an interesting story, I think, as we start looking at, which is going to drive customer demand and leading up to that. And I guess you guys are in that section of time now, and I'm sure there's a lot of folks looking at updating, you know, their machinery for next year based around, you know, maybe some tax moves and those kind of things. So you know, Kenny, what are you seeing from a support standpoint? What are you seeing from that perspective?
Yeah, we're getting a lot of inquiries on even some of the ordering stuff for next year. We're starting to see more inventory come in hand. We were having to order a long ways out, and some of that's starting to show up and actually have stuff available in a fairly quick turnaround. Not everything, so I have to be cautious there. And then we've also seen a shift in a lot of the dealers. And even customers, obviously, we're getting it from the dealer standpoint, but people are thinking a lot further ahead. You know, thinking about next year's combines already.
Sure,
some inquiries there. Definitely good to see that, and you know, guys planning ahead. And it seems like we're starting to see some easement on supply chain issues and getting a lot of inquiry for next year machines.
Yeah, it is one thing you're starting to see a little bit of. This seems like it's starting to see some easing. You know, about the time you start feeling warm and fuzzy, you know, you get smacked in the face again. But it, for the most part, it does feel like there's getting to be more readily available stuff coming through. And I guess, you know, Clint, as you're looking out at some of the guys, your dealerships you're working with and those kind of things, are you starting to see a little more equipment on the lot than you've seen in the past?
I am, especially the smaller compact equipment. definitely seeing more of that come back. But you know, a lot of the bigger stuff is still out there. You know, with the allocations, almost everybody I've talked to this year has said that they could have sold more than they were allocated.
For sure.
That's been pretty widespread. And then it's just the biggest thing I think everybody's talking about is the managing the inventory cycles like this, you know, with the trade-in equipment and the new equipment and the delays, and then managing, you know, those trades down 2 to 3 to 4 cycles has been a real hassle. I think a lot of guys are dealing with, but I think everybody for the most part is expecting, you know, to have a good year this year and continue on into next year.
Yeah.
But yeah, not like it was 2 years ago for sure.
Right. Yeah, exactly. So looking at some different fall tillage practices that are out there, you know, Kenny, from a support side, you're out there looking at the nuts and bolts of, nuts and bolts of what's going on with the customers and their demands. Are you seeing any abnormal setups that you haven't seen in the past?
Not necessarily for tillage applications. I mean, it's kind of still a lot of your, you know, on heavy tillage, still doing a lot of, you know, the larger flotation singles.
Sure.
For guys wanting some, you know, the LSWs on those, and then there's some still running a lot of 800 duals, 710 duals. So from tractor standpoint, no, we don't see a whole lot of different things out there. I mean, there's always, you know, equipment moving side to side in the country, or north and south or whatever, and it you know, that requires, you know, different setups, different regions, but nothing new and crazy as far as something off the wall setup. But
I know there were some pretty wet areas, especially in the areas that you cover, Clint. You know, you got kind of the Midwest and that upper Tennessee River Valley all the way over to some mid-Atlantic states. And there's plenty of rain in a lot of those areas where it was almost marshy, I guess is the best way to put it. Did you see a lot of demand for the 900 and the 1200 metric tire out there on the guys trying to get stuff in the field, or maybe some track systems and stuff like that? Did you get a lot of demand for that?
Most of those areas, at least that I heard of, with a lot of those rains came in early and midsummer, and then it kind of dried back out again. So a lot of the guys had the crops in, and then they got all the rain. So we didn't see a lot of it. I would say the guys that have it, you know, are stuck with it. And you know, but not necessarily a big uptick one way or the other. And then harvest has seemed to be pretty smooth for everybody as well. It had a little rain there in the middle of it that slowed everybody down for a week or so. But not any widespread need for flotation. Tracks have been an issue with inventory. I think everybody's noticing that's pretty widespread. Replacement tracks and even to the point of delaying new machines too. Is that right?
Yeah, there's been the track issue's been an issue for sure. There's been more cases than not where, you know, whether it's a 2-track system or a 4-track system, there was a major delays, and then just replacement belts on top of that too. Has been a real big issue too. So keep fighting that uphill battle. It seems like more than not, but it's a struggle nonetheless on the track side. And that looks like to me, and I mean, you guys probably know this better than I do, but it seems like the track issue hasn't really resolved itself. Is that a fair statement?
Yeah, I just checked on John Deere 2-track system tracks, a 30-inch. And we've had some on order for a while, and our delivery date is showing the end of 2023 right now. So
just in time. That's good.
Yeah. Be here for next year. Not saying what part.
Yeah, we've got some of that too, where we're seeing some stuff just show up just in time for 24. So that's exciting. Excited about that. But when you guys are, so Clint, you're out there right now, what's the one thing you're hearing from your customers right now that when you talk to them about what they see happening going into 23?
Like I said, for the most part, it's still pretty positive. You know, as far as guys willing to spend the money, you know, more cash buyers now, it seems like, with the higher interest rates.
Yeah.
You know, guys are going back to buying outright if they can. And I think they kind of predict the interest rates will have some effect on the market, you know, and the sales probably into next year. But so far, if guys ordered and got ahead of this, before some of the price increases and everything, I think everyone's pretty well, happy with where we're at for what's going on. So we need to keep the green prices up and watch this interest rate, see what it's going to do, and I think we'll. 6 months to 6 to 9 months from now, we'll probably have a lot better idea of where we'll be at.
Yeah. So, Kenny, from the support standpoint, what's the one or two tips you'd throw out there right now as folks start to park their machines for the winter here?
When you're parking them for the winter, the best thing is if you can get everything inside, that's the best.
Yeah.
And if you do have to, take duals off or something like that to get stuff in the shed, try, if you got tires sitting outside, put a tarp over them. From a standpoint of longevity and keeping them in good shape, get them covered up, get the sunlight off of them, keep them from dry rotting.
Yeah. That is such a problem. We got old used tires stacked up everywhere, and what they look like at the beginning of the summer and what they look like at the end of the summer are two completely different things. And half the time I'm afraid to sell them to anybody because you don't know what's going to come apart when they start rolling down the road. So especially when you're hauling 60,000 pounds around, it's making sure your tire doesn't explode is a very important thing. So it's good stuff there. All right, Paige, it's my favorite part of the podcast right here. What's this week's giveaway?
This week's giveaway are these nice Camo Alliance ball caps.
Nice.
So you guys better get your camo. It's hunting season. So.
It is hunting season for sure. And it's got a nice blaze of orange lettering. So you cover everything.
So you guys are going to want some of these.
Yeah, they can't see your head, but they can read the lettering. That's what it comes down to. Right?
Exactly.
There you go. Awesome.
To get your hat, though, all you got to do is email marketing@axontire.com. Your first name and then your address, and we'll go ahead and get one sent to you.
Right on. Make sure you get that sent out, and we'll post that on the podcast here so everybody can see it. But with that, I really appreciate what you guys are doing here. And Paige, you got any final thoughts before we close down the podcast?
I don't think I can top what Kenny and Clint said, so I'm just going to leave it with their last word.
Right on. Outstanding. All right. Well, guys, I appreciate you being on the podcast. Clint, if people want to get a hold of you, what's the best way to do that?
Usually my email is the quickest. It's clint.berardi at axontire.com. Or if you go on the website, there's actually a link on our sales page where you can click a button and download all of our contact information there. So it's at axontire.com.
Right on. And Kenny, what's the best way to get a hold of you?
Phone number is 515-867-2272, direct line to me in the office, or my email, kenny.seed@axontire.com.
Right on. Awesome. Well, guys, I really appreciate you being on the podcast.
Thank you.
Right on.
Always good.
Thank you. Don't eat too much turkey.
No, don't worry. You have to tell me twice, maybe 3 times, but all right. I'm Casey Seymour with Moving Iron Podcast. Make sure to check me out on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at Moving Iron LLC. You can also go to LinkedIn at Moving Iron Podcast, and the video version of this on the YouTube channel, the Moving Iron Podcast YouTube channel. Just go to Moving Iron LLC for everything Moving Iron related, and check out all the stuff there. So with that, I'm Casey Seymour with Clint, Kenny, and Paige. Let's move smart, folks. Out.
Moving iron in the 21st century. Hard-working people working hard for you and me. Moving higher, time and time again. Through the years you'll find us here.